Were you moved by the words of Claire Mercer in particular? How much did what she had to tell you, and others too, really sway you on this?
Good evening, Mr. Fraser. Yes, I was, as were my other colleagues on the Transport Select Committee. But some of us, myself and the chairman, Hugh Merriman, have been on the Transport Select Committee for quite some years. And back in 2016, we actually had a very similar series of witness sessions and wrote a report back then, having looked at smart motorways or all-lane running motorways, which have been brought in as far ago as 2006. And we tried to hold the government to account in 2016, and were told that they would make changes, that the technology was on its way and would all be working and all singing and all dancing. And we get to 2021, and the story hasn't really changed at all, and the technology doesn't work. And unfortunately, Claire and Mercer and lots of other people have been badly affected by decisions being made by bean counters, basically, which is basically trying to ease congestion on the cheap. And ultimately, my view is that actually we shouldn't have any motorways in this country without hard shoulders. They should all have hard shoulders reinstated.
But to do that without dramatically reducing traffic volumes means you're going to have to start building more motorways, widening the ones that we have, presumably.
Indeed, and I don't see any problem with that. At the moment, the motorist pays what used to be called road tax, is now vehicle duty, but also pays, obviously, the fuel that we all buy and put into our vehicles. That all goes to the Exchequer, to the Treasury, and they get 35 billion a year. Never mind the VAT that they're currently receiving as well. But only 11 billion gets spent on our roads in this country. So I would say, spend a bit more of that 35 billion on improving our motorway network. Yes, it's busy. Yes, we need to ease congestion, but there's no harm in putting in extra lanes and having a hard shoulder as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the road tax. It certainly feels like, along with the fuel tax, a cash cow, doesn't it? A revenue raiser as much as anything else, and it's going in different directions, not necessarily being spent on roads. Am I right in saying that you are saying that there's no amount of fine-tuning that can change this? The principle is fundamentally flawed from the outset.
Exactly, Mr. Ray. That's exactly what I'm saying, because one of the things that we've learned is that the cameras, the CCTV cameras, the IT, the tech that's used, although it doesn't work all the time, even when it does work, it's not that people are sitting in rooms, that controllers are sitting in their control room looking at banks of TV camera images. It's actually they're waiting, or the artificial intelligence is waiting, not for an accident or an incident to happen for them to see it. They're actually waiting for the traffic to queue up behind that incident in whatever lane that might be. So it's not even that the immediacy of something happening is then recognised. They're waiting for the traffic to back up behind it and for congestion to be caused before anybody takes notice and then starts closing lanes and calling the emergency services. And one of the other reasons that I don't think that not having a hard shoulder is helpful is that the emergency services then have to get to an incident or to a breakdown or whatever it might be. And if you've got all lane running, there's a real problem in getting emergency services quickly onto the scene of whatever the incident or the breakdown might be.
I was going to make the point about emergency vehicles. I've seen that happen. Many people who go on smart motorways have seen exactly that happen, haven't they? I can't remember, Karl McCartney, an instance of government policy that has cost so much, which so many ordinary folk can see is riddled with folly, doesn't work at a basic level, and yet which government and Whitehall has persisted with. I'm really struggling to find something akin to it. It feels out there on its own. I think a lot of people struggle to understand why government has had quite such a tin ear on this one. I mean, it's one of those subjects you've only got to switch on the talk radio shows, and people are animated and exercised by this to a degree the likes of which you don't really find on almost anything else.
Indeed, and it seems the top brass at Highways England, as it was formerly known, now known as, I'm trying to remember its new name actually, is when it was Highways England back in 2016, obviously they advised the Department of Transport and ministers. I think they've been badly advising them, the top brass at National Highways, as it's now called, still rigidly stick to their reasoning that they think it's a good thing and that they're safer. But anybody who's ever broken down on a motorway where there is a hard shoulder, it's not a nice place to be. I've changed tyres and wheels on the hard shoulder. I've had to wait for emergency services when I couldn't get some of the wheel nuts undone at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's not a nice place to be. And that wasn't a busy motorway. It's just you don't want to be there. Now imagine if that's when you're on an all-lane running motorway and you're stuck there and there is no refuge and you can't get anywhere, and you're relying on somebody not seeing you broke down, but actually traffic backing up behind you. to actually alert them that there's an incident that they need to send somebody to sort out. It's certainly, and that's one of the reasons why during this latest investigation that we had, that all the witnesses that came in front of me, I asked them if they themselves had personally ever broken down on a motorway. And it was very telling that all those at the top, they don't seem to spend much time on the motorways, or certainly not in cars that might break down. But that's not the experience of most people in this country. We all drive different age cars. You can have a brand new car that can break down. And my view is that actually we want our road network to be the safest it could be. And I don't perceive that all-lane running or the misnomered smart motorways are the safest provision of the road network in this country.
Karl McCartney, a lot of sense. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts tonight. Thanks a lot.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.